Who do we got back here? Jeffrey, you able to hear me, brother?
Yes, William. I can hear you just fine.
Awesome, brother. I love that icon. Let me guess, you're Catholic.
Yep.
Awesome, brother. What's your question, brother?
First, I want to tell you that you handled that racist heretic perfectly fine.
Thank you, brother.
Those guys, I don't understand what their problem is, why they want to pigeonhole
filled with hate.
God's glory to a certain people when obviously it's for everybody.
They're filled with hate and rage, brother. The very movement that they're a part of is a movement that is teaching them that they are a part of a race that is superior and that everybody else is beneath them. And immediately, the paradigm of the religion that they are a part of is racist at its core, filled with hate. They're indoctrinated with hatred, and they're nasty people. They really are. They are very nasty people. But by the grace of God, we are able to refute them day in and day out, and we won't stop. In fact, I'm doing a whole stream, by the grace of God, hopefully maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, just on the Black Hebrew Israelite movement and how it really is a damnable movement, a heretical movement, that they really are spreading hatred. They're not spreading any truth of the gospel. They need to be avoided, 100% avoided.
So I was reading that Abrahamic covenant that he made with Abram, obviously prior to him becoming Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
And he split the animals.
Mm-hmm.
And then he put, half on one side, half on the other, ended with the birds. Then there was, I call it just an attack of the devil when the birds came and tried ruining the ritual sacrifice by, taking off with the parts or whatever. But then he was also put to sleep and he wasn't able to actually accomplish walking through the ritual. So then it says that God sent down, I don't know if the word was overshadowed like the other times he comes down, but he definitely manifested two things at that moment. And it was a smoking furnace and a fiery torch. And those two entities walked that ritual line to, start that Abrahamic covenant. And, that really seems Trinitarian to me, with, God having his two representations, the Holy Spirit and his son Adonai, walk that ritual for him.
Yeah, I think that you're referring to Genesis 15. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, where he cuts the animals in half. Yeah, so I don't have it in front of me. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second. And let me put it on screen for the audience. I know exactly where you're referring to, but I want the audience to be able to follow along. So give me 1 second. When you pull that up.
It was very eye-popping story when I read it for the first time and really understood what was going on here, because obviously the Abrahamic covenant is one of our greatest, mile markers in our religion.
Yeah. All right, I got it up. Let me put it up for the audience. Give me 1 second, brother. And then let me break it down. This is really good. I'm glad you brought it up, but I got to be able to, hold on. Okay. There we go. Let me read it. So, this is really good. When the sun had gone down and it was dark, behold, a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch passed between these pieces. So what happens is, let me break it down for the audience. In Genesis 15, 9 to 17, these are classical and important passages. God tells Abram, at the moment his name is Abram, to bring multiple animals. I know one is a goat, one is a ram, and along with a turtle dove, a young pigeon. And what he does then after that is he cuts them in half and he lays the pieces opposite one another. Now, he does this in a covenant ritual. And this is important because then we get to Genesis 15, 17, where it reads what is right there on the screen. So you then have a visible manifestation of God where he alone passes through. Now, what does that do? That shows, first of all, that the covenant is from God. It's not dependent on Abram's action. So that's really, really important. Then you have very powerful typology and clearly symbolic representations here. Now, whether or not the fathers saw this is possible. Maybe Sam knows, maybe Divine Mercy. I haven't looked up yet if the fathers noticed these clear typological references. But yes, we've got the furnace, which definitely gives us imagery of God's holiness, his judgment. And you've got that imagery in many parts of the Bible. For instance, in the book of Exodus, I'm reminded of Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai is wrapped up in smoke because the Lord had descended on it in fire. That imagery I'm reminded of that imagery. But there's a lot of typological meaning here, a lot of prefiguring of the new covenant that'll come in the New Testament. Now, it's very important because you've got God the Father speaking and making a promise, and then you have manifestations, smoking furnace, the fiery torch, which I think you can make a good case typologically point to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is very often represented as fire. You look in the book of Acts chapter 2, the Holy Spirit is represented as fire there. I think that's really, really important. So in that sense, that's magnificent. Then the other point to where you can point to the Son, and we know that you can point to the Son, is the fulfillment of the covenant. Well, what do we read there in the text? That there is a promise to what? To bless all nations through Abram's seed in Genesis. But who's the one that promises that? Well, we know it's the Logos, the eternal Son. So yeah, without a doubt, you've got the Trinity working, and it really shouldn't shock you, because the Bible is rich with typology of the Trinity all over the place, all over the New Testament and all over all over the Old Testament and all over the New Testament, brother.
All right. Well, thanks for running through that with me, and you keep up the good work. I appreciate talking to you.
God bless you, Jeffrey. Thank you for coming up. Thank you for your phenomenal question, brother. You're great. Thank you so much, brother.